Imagine finding a simple Lincoln penny in your change jar, where counting down the top 3 most valuable Lincoln pennies ever struck could be worth thousands or even millions of dollars, from mysterious minting errors to ultra-rare editions that collectors dream about. Some Lincoln pennies are true treasures hiding in plain sight. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most talked about and valuable modern rarities, the 1960-era Lincoln penny, a coin that proves not all pennies are created equal. Have you ever checked your old change jar, found a worn Lincoln penny, and wondered if it might be worth something? Well, imagine that most people overlook could be worth not just a few bucks, but that's right, one of the smallest coins in American history, weighing just 3.11 grams, could be a hidden treasure worth more than a brand new car. Let's set the stage. It's 1960, a year of big changes in America. John F. Kennedy is running for president, the first laser has just been invented, and the U.S. Mint is producing billions of Lincoln cents. But deep in the Denver Mint, something unusual happens. 2 different versions of the 1960 penny are struck, one with a small date and another with a large date. That alone would have been interesting to collectors, but the real magic began when these 2 versions accidentally got mixed. The result? One of the most famous and valuable varieties in Lincoln cent history, the 1960 small date over large date error. Let's talk about the value, because that's what makes this story so incredible. In circulated condition, a normal 1960 penny might be worth just a cent or 2. But if it's the small date over large date error, even in lower grades, it can fetch hundreds of dollars. As the condition improves, especially if the coin is uncirculated or graded by a major service like PCGS or NGC, the value climbs dramatically. Mint state examples MS63 or better can bring $1,000 to $3,000, while superb gem quality coins have sold for $10,000 to $15,000 at major auctions. And here's where it gets jaw-dropping. One pristine 1960 small date over large date penny in top mint condition sold for over $33,000. Yes, $33,000, making it one of the most valuable Lincoln memorial cents ever produced. But what makes this coin so desirable isn't just its price. It's the story it tells, a moment in time when the U.S. Mint, with all its precision, still managed to create a small but fascinating mistake that turned an everyday penny into a collectible legend. Now, let's take a moment to imagine finding one of these in your pocket change. It sounds impossible, right? But there have been verified stories of people discovering rare varieties in old jars, inherited coin collections, or even rolls from the bank. The odds might be slim, but the payoff, absolutely thrilling. So the next time you're sorting through your spare change or looking through an old coin album, keep an eye out for that tiny 1960. Examine the numbers carefully. Look for that unique small over large date, and don't underestimate what you find. Because that little penny in your hand could be worth not just a few cents, but $10,000 to $15,000, or even $33,000, if it's the right one. This is the incredible story of the 1960-era Lincoln penny, a coin born from a minting mistake, now one of the most valuable modern U.S. cents in existence. Imagine finding a simple brown penny in your change, one that looks no different from the billions of others that passed through countless hands since the 1970s. You toss it aside after all. It's only worth 1 cent, right? Small enough to fit on your fingertip, could pay for a new car, a dream vacation, or even part of a house. Let's rewind to 1976. America was celebrating its bicentennial to 100 years of independence. The nation was filled with pride, fireworks, and patriotic symbols. The U.S. Mint was busy producing millions of special bicentennial coins, quarters, half dollars, and dollars, each bearing the dual date 1776-1976. But while everyone's attention was on those flashy commemorative designs, the humble Lincoln cent quietly continued its regular production. The Denver Mint struck hundreds of millions of Lincoln pennies that year with the familiar 1976 date ND mint mark. And deep within that massive production run, a few mistakes slipped through, mistakes that would later turn a common coin into a collector's dream. One of the most famous is the 1976 Lincoln penny struck on a dime planchet. In this incredible error, the penny design was accidentally struck on a blank metal disc intended for a Roosevelt dime. The result? A thinner, lighter penny with a silvery appearance instead of copper, a visual oddity that's immediately eye-catching. Because dime plankets are made of a copper-nickel alloy, These rare pennies look completely different from normal copper cents. A few examples have surfaced in collections and auctions, and depending on condition, these errors can sell for $10,000, $20,000, and in some rare pristine examples, as much as $45,000 to $50,000. But that's not the only error that makes the 1976 dip penny famous. Some coins from the Denver Mint display double-die errors where parts of the design, especially the date, lettering, or Lincoln's profile, appear slightly doubled under magnification. You might see two outlines on the or even the date itself. The doubling happens when the die shifts during hubbing, creating a second impression. To an untrained eye, it might look like a smudge, but to a numismatist, it's a gold mine. A strong double-die 1976 penny can easily bring to $1,000 to $5,000. And if it's a bold, dramatic example with perfect luster, it could climb into the tens of thousands. Then there are off-center strikes coins that were not properly aligned in the press, leaving part of the design missing and part of the blank planchet exposed. These errors are visually striking, with Lincoln's portrait shifted far to one side, often with only part of the date visible, depending on how off-center the strike is. These coins can range from a few $100s to $3,000 or more. But if the date and mint mark remain visible and the strike is dramatic, collectors are willing to pay a premium. One of the best-known examples of a 1976 era penny that made headlines was discovered by a casual collector in the early 2000s. He found it while searching through a roll of old change. It looked odd, thinner, lighter, and slightly off-color. Thinking it might be fake, he brought it to a local coin shop. The dealer examined it and realized it wasn't fake at all. It was a 1976 Lincoln penny struck on a dime planchet. After authentication and grading, the coin sold at auction for over $45,000. Imagine that a coin that could have been spent on a candy bar ended up being worth more than most people's annual salary. Welcome to the mysterious and thrilling world of the 1978 era Lincoln penny, one of the most fascinating modern rarities in American numismatic history. Imagine this for a second. You're sorting through an old jar of pennies, maybe ones you've had for decades. Most look ordinary, you thinking it's nothing special after all. It's just a penny, right? But what if that little copper coin in your hand isn't just worth 1 cent? One tiny penny, struck nearly 50 years ago, could be worth more than a brand new luxury car. To understand why this coin has collectors buzzing, we have to go back to the late 1970s, a time of change, both for the United States and for its coinage. The year was 1978. Gas was cheap, disco was booming, and the U.S. Mint was producing billions of coins to keep up with an expanding economy. At the Denver Mint, where the famous D mint mark comes from, production was running at full speed. Millions upon millions of Lincoln cents were being struck daily, flawless, uniform, and ordinary. But amid that massive output, a few mistakes happened, small, unintentional errors that would go unnoticed for years. Those few misstruck coins became what collectors today call the 1978 era Lincoln penny, a coin so rare that when one appears, it makes national headlines. Now, let's make something clear. The majority of 1978 Lincoln pennies are perfectly normal and worth just face value. Over 4.2 billion were minted that year, and most ended up in circulation. But deep in that sea of copper lies a handful of extraordinary pieces, coins with dramatic minting errors that make them worth thousands, tens of thousands, or even over $75,000 in the most spectacular cases. So what exactly went wrong at the mint? Well, several types of minting errors have been discovered in 1978 dip pennies, and some of them are so dramatic they almost look like works of abstract art. One of the most valuable and visually striking is the 1978 Lincoln penny struck on a dime planchet. Imagine this. Instead of being struck on a copper penny blank, the design of the Lincoln cent was accidentally pressed onto a blank meant for a Roosevelt dime, a thinner, smaller, silver-colored metal disc. The result is a penny design that's incomplete, off-center, and lighter in color, a jaw-dropping error that immediately grabs attention. These rare planchet mix-ups happened when leftover dime blanks were mistakenly fed into the penny press. Let's talk about value for a moment, because this is where things get truly astonishing. A regular 1978 dip penny, even in uncirculated mint condition, might be worth 25 to 50 cents. But once you add a major error, say, a double strike, an off-center strike, or a wrong planchet, that value skyrockets. High-grade examples authenticated by PCGS or NGC, the two leading grading companies, can sell anywhere from $1,000 to $10,000. And for the rarest varieties like those struck on dime or aluminum plankets, the prices soar to $60,000, $68,000, and in some auction cases, even $75,000. Stories of discovery continue to surface even today. One collector in California reportedly found a 1978 D penny that appeared lighter and thinner than normal. Upon testing, it was confirmed to be struck on a foreign aluminum planchet, a shocking find. When graded, it sold for over $60,000. Another collector found a double-struck 1978 D penny where Lincoln's portrait appeared twice, overlapping on the obverse. That one fetched nearly $25,000. Every find like this rekindles the excitement among coin enthusiasts worldwide.